What's the crusade you're going on? A mission to live your life's purpose and passion. What if this year is the last year of your life? What's your God-sized dream? What do you stand for? Live your best life this year. Now, that's the time. I'm going on a crusade to change people's mindsets every single day. So are you on board? Welcome back to the Todd Durkin Impact Show, and I am feeling especially fired up today. Imagine that. You're listening to the Impact Show, and I'm feeling a little fired up. Why? I just got a little workout in, got a little arm farm. The energy is flowing through the brains and through the veins. And today we're talking about a topic that I believe that you're going to absolutely love. It's called unbreakable spirit. So I have a question for y'all. How are you doing? How are you doing? Now, when I ask that question, how you doing? You're out there right now, you're working out. When someone says, how are you doing to you? When I ask you the question right now, mono to you, woman, man, how are you doing? Because when you ask that today to somebody, my hope is that today, as we talk about unbreakable, that your spirit is alive, your energy is alive. You know, just a few weeks ago, going into 2022, I shared that I'm going on a crusade to strengthen the body, the mind, and the souls of people around this universe, around the planet. And I called each and every one of you on a calling to go on the crusade with me. But to be on that crusade, we've got to find this insatiable appetite to be unbreakable. Now, you might be like, hey, Todd, I'm about broken right now. And that's what I want to talk about today, is when you're broken, when you're on the brink of being broken. What's it going to take for you to claw out of this hole? What's it going to take for you to have this spirit? And I'm going to be reals with you today. I'm going to talk about where and when do I feel the most broken every single day. Because I don't know, raise your hand right now as you're running around the block. If every single day, in some way, shape, form, or other, you may feel a little broken. Someone in your family, a relationship, something may feel a little broken, and you got to snap the band, you got to get your mind right, and you got to rock and roll. So if I'm speaking to you today, say amen out there. I want to hear you all the way up in Canada, Australia, Europe, US. I want to hear you and feel you, because today when we talk about unbroken, man, it is going to be some spirit and energy flowing through the airwaves today. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to have a co-host I'm going to introduce you to in just a matter of moments. Yeah, a co-host. Imagine that. Why? Because what happens if I break down on this episode? And I got to make sure that we can get through this without breaking down. So we have a co-host joining us in a moment. But before we do that, a couple things. Number one, I want to thank each and every one of you who have reached out to me. I've got this text community, and so many of you have reached out to answer the question that I've posed lately is, how are you doing? How can I help you? How can I serve you? And you've reached out and you've shared unequivocally your emotions and where you're winning in life, where you're losing in life. And I'm reading each and every one of these texts. Yes, it really is me. And I want to thank you. If you have not yet joined, make sure you join that text community, 619-304-2216. Join me. If you're in the US, if you're in Canada, make sure you join up 619-304-2216. And also, big shout out to each and every one of you who just a few days ago joined me on my webinar called Finding Fulfillment Now. Yep, another question for you. Have you found fulfillment yet? If you happen to miss that webinar, make sure you sign up, because I'm rerunning the webinar. Yes, I'm rerunning it because we had such great feedback from that. So for a couple more weeks, I'm going to run that webinar called Finding Fulfillment Now. Here's how you can listen to the webinar, Finding Fulfillment Now. Yoo-hoo. Yep, Todd Durkin here. And I have a question for you. Is anyone else enamored with how you become the best version of yourself? Have any of you had the conversations with yourself that there's got to be something more in me? There's got to be a deeper purpose. There's got to be something more that I can make some change and transformation to go to a deeper level. Yeah, if you're anything like me, you have these conversations about transformation, about, hey, what can I do that's going to help my energy or my vitality, or how can I enhance my health or go deeper in my faith? My friends, I want to help you. Matter of fact, in the last several weeks and months, I've been putting together a free webinar that's designed to help all of these things, how you can discover your passion and your purpose and go deeper with your life force, and how you overcome your fear with more faith and how you go deeper on your own calling. If that's you, I want to invite you to this webinar, and all you got to do is sign up. It is free. When you go to todddurkin.com, and you sign up for the free webinar, I want to dive in and help you with your energy, with your vitality, with your health, with your mindset, with your soul set, so that we can maximize this year in 2022. As you have heard, my theme is energy. That's my theme for the year. And I've been talking a lot about this God-sized dream thing, that God-sized dream of how do you live your deepest calling now without waiting for some big transformational event to happen in your life. How can we be the impetus to change? Folks, sign up for this webinar. I want to motivate you and inspire you like I never have before. Go to the webinar, todddurkin.com. Sign up for free today. Check it out, todddurkin.com. Until next time, remember, train hard, eat right, live inspired, and go create impact. Fantastic. Thank you for signing up, finding fulfillment now. I want to help you find even more fulfillment. So let's rock and roll into today's show, all about being unbreakable. And I share with you, I have a co-host today. And you have not heard from this co-host yet, but she is someone who's very special. And I've known her for over 20 years. And she has been friends with my wife for 22 years. And Meeuwise has been a dear friend to the family, to Fitness Quest 10. She was one of our first clients at Fitness Quest 10. And truth be told, in talking with Maria a few months ago, she has listened to over 75% of our 230-something episodes of the Todd Durkin Impact Show. So I said, hey, Maria, I'm going to do a theme called Unbreakable. Unbreakable. For the next several weeks, I'm going to touch on this topic. You think you could help me? She's like, I'm a little nervous. I don't know if I can. I'm like, suck it up. We can do it. You can do it. Because Meeuwise is not only helping me with these upcoming episodes of the Impact Show, she's someone who I believe epitomizes being unbreakable because she's been broken. She's had setbacks. She's overcome. And first off, welcome Meeuwise to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Making the debut. Are you nervous or no? Nah.
Nah, not really. No. I mean, I can tell you, who knows if I'll actually listen to this episode. We all know how we feel about hearing our own voice and seeing our own face, but yeah.
Well, the fact of the matter is, you know our culture really well. You know Mel and I really well. You've listened and read all the books and all of that. So I believe Unbreakable is a topic that you can certainly speak life into. And I'm really pumped up today to have our folks listen to what you share, because besides today's episode, you've been helping me in the last couple of weeks and moving forward here with how do we get the Impact Show to the next level. And when I shared with you back in early January, hey, Maria, I'm really looking to take the Impact Show to the next level. And you had some great ideas. I'm like, good. Can you execute? You're like, yeah, sure. I can help you. So between you and Brandon and the team, you're doing an amazing job. And I say thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So Unbreakable. What does that mean to you?
Well, by definition, I mean, unbreakable means to not be broken. And that sounds simple enough, but I think most people think of something of structure, a physical piece of something that cannot be broken. But the reality is, for me, it's about your spirit, your human spirit, your desire, your passion. It's like what that thing is that's inside of you that helps you get through these times in which, yeah, you may be physically broken, but it's not going to ultimately break you and keep you from what it is your goals are, where it is you're trying to go. Yeah, I hear the word unbreakable, and here's what I think of. You define it as not being broken. And I kind of to myself think, man, but I've been broken so many times before in my own life. And people don't always remember those times. But for me, if you're out there, you're like, yeah, but Todd, hey, Maria, what if you are broken? Or what if I've been broken? To me, unbreakable means this: physically, and I'll talk about that today, mentally, and I'll talk about that today, spiritually, I'll talk about that today. When you are broken, how do you not stay broken? To me, being unbreakable is not,
not breaking, because you and I are going to break. It's that spirit that is going to rise you up when you're broken to get vertical, stand up, and make something with your life. So today, if you can't even work out, you're like, I wish I was out working out, or you're working out like, I can't run as fast as I used to, or this or that. Hey, I always say, suck it up, buttercup, to myself on this, is the unbreakable spirit is when you're broken, is that you're standing up one more time than you get put down. And to me, that's being unbreakable, is that we continue to be resilient and have the grit to rise up despite everything that's going on. So Maria, can you please share, and then we could turn the tides, I know, but I want you to share with our listeners today about maybe one episode where maybe you felt you were broken and you felt like, man, I don't know if I can keep going. I know we've talked and I've known you for a long time, and you could probably share 3, 4, 5 things, but what would be one example where you were broken and what you did about it?
Well, yeah, like you said, we all have our things. But I think the one time that sticks out most in my mind was something that happened. It was 6.5 years ago now. And I lost someone who was very special to me. And we were out hiking, talking about Thanksgiving and the holidays and next steps in our relationship. And, out there in the middle of nowhere on this hike, he had a massive heart attack and died. And it was just the two of us out there. Didn't have a phone signal. There wasn't a lot of hikers that were, around at the time, and I did not know what to do. Luckily, somebody eventually came by to help, but it was 20 minutes of CPR, and life flight eventually came, and that was even difficult because there wasn't a place for them to land safely. And I basically he died in my arms. And we literally had been talking about getting a Christmas tree that afternoon at the end of our hike. I didn't know what to do. It took days to even process that this person was gone, and Thanksgiving was only 7 days away. And, we had plans on how we're going to divide up the different families and how we're going to celebrate with everybody and celebrate us and talk about where our relationship was going. That was all it was ripped away from all of us. And,
wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That was 6 years ago? And Rich and you were there was words of potential getting married.
I found out later he had already asked my dad for permission and had told his mom that he was going to do it. Yeah. So that's.
How old was Rich when he passed?
47.
47. Out for a hike, Sunday, beautiful day. Next thing you know, one of the worst experiences of your life, and that'll break anybody. My question to you is, when you faced your lowest times, when someone is facing their lowest times, how did you just keep going? How do you're the love of your life, gonna get married, now gone. And I'm sure it's taken you a long time to continue to process that. But what was it that allowed you to not give up?
Well, it was hard. I mean, obviously it was hard, and you have to deal with the immediate things. But I knew that I had done. I would never have given back that time that I had with Rich. And I knew, in order to celebrate that and even to go on with the rest of my life and the other things that I wanted to do with my life, things that I talked with him about and shared with him about, that I had to find a way to move forward. And in the beginning, that meant just getting out of bed every day and finding a balance, which I didn't have right away, between getting up every day and still taking care of myself. I ended up I was working out a whole hell of a lot, which was great in the beginning, but then I took it too far, and actually I ended up getting a concussion, cracked my head open in 2 places, and then had to deal with that. And that was my wake up call of, okay, take a deep breath.
Yeah.
You are going to get through this, and just slow down. Yeah. We've even had, guests talk about that. Dr. Clay Whiting was talking about that. Mm-hmm. Slow down and just do what you need to do. You got this.
Yeah. So hard to slow down. It's so hard to slow down. Like, gosh, can anyone else attest to that? Like, you got to slow down, but it's hard to slow down. And again, thank you for sharing that with that. And part of that is that mantra of just getting up, depending on how bad you're facing a certain experience, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, relationally, financially. On that, I always think about this. Pastor Miles McPherson said this once. It's ingrained in my head from she's probably 20 years ago. Is know this, that someone always has it worse than you. And I don't know why I come back to that so many times. I was recently with Mike Chandler, and we'll get Mike here on a future episode. He's someone who's, quote, unbreakable, even though he's been broken. But Mike was sharing a story. A question was asked: have you ever thought about quitting? He's like, yeah, of course I thought about quitting. And Mike's a UFC lightweight fighter, and here he is, one of the top fighters in the world, and he's thought about quitting. I'm like, what? It doesn't make sense. And when you think about not quitting, Dr. Rick Rigsby, another guy who shared he lost his wife, talked about the only thing I had to do is know this: every day the sun's coming up. The sun is coming up. Every day I got to get up and I got to move. The sun's coming up. And to me, when I heard Pastor Miles talk about that, is know that someone's always got it worse than you. Sometimes we get in this little pity party with ourselves about how bad we've got it. And sometimes you do have it bad. But there's some times where you're just feeling pity, and you've got other people all around you who have it way worse than you do. And then you got to snap out of it. So, that I know was something that is about as tough as it gets. So thanks again for sharing.
Let me ask you, we're going to turn the table here for a minute, because to your point, it is hard, especially for people who are, work hard at, want to achieve things, have achieved things. Slowing down is difficult. Because you are the Energizer Bunny, as far as most people know, what's something in your life that, that caused you to feel like you were breakable and you had to remind yourself that you were not?
Right. Well, I don't want to share stories that have already been told, right? People know the story of my father when I was 20 years old, passed away tragically of a heart attack, and that was tough. My back broke when I was 25 years old playing professional football in Europe, and it was a devastating injury. It was a devastating injury that certainly changed the trajectory of my world. But when you really ask, as far as just recently, and I'm sure you can relate to this today, but when I think about being broken, I honestly think of the times we're in today. These are the toughest of times that I've ever personally faced, for the longevity of 2 years of sometimes feeling broken. Like, how do I keep going? Like, how do I keep moving in that? For me, in the last 2 years, and I don't know, is anyone else out there, can they relate to the pandemic kicking their butt? I think for me personally, I'm going to save the world, save the industry, save everyone mentality. You can get exhausted, and that my back was broken again. And the last year in 2021, I shared with y'all of how much pain I was in 21, and navigating that to this day. I made some business changes so that we can really elevate our platform. And I think more, when you say, unbreakable, it wasn't being broken. It was really, in my word, as a man of faith, it was God's way of drawing me nearer to Him so that I wouldn't break, and I was more dependent on Him getting me through the times of where He wants me to end up. And here's the hard part: I'm not sure where that's going to be. I'm not sure where that's going to be. So when I say patience in the gap, guys, like you, like I'm in that gap. I'm in that gap of where I'm going because the last 2 years of a pandemic, I've been very obedient to, man, sometimes physically, I don't know how I'm going to get up and do a live, how I'm going to do a podcast. And let me tell you what, you energize me. You listener energize me. When you give me a DM or a feedback or a text message on our community, that fires me up. So it's the community, you, that fires me up. But most importantly, when you say, well, how did I not break? I think this 2-year pandemic of dialing habits and everything else, it's my faith that ultimately has allowed me to continue to be reliant on my faith in God and being purpose driven. When I talk about finding fulfillment now on that webinar I just did, is it's really drawing into your passions and your purpose and your gifts and finding fulfillment and joy in the little things. And that's what I'm most grateful and thankful for in this time.
So what would you given that, what would you say, because everybody does have their thing. We've talked about that before. What would you say is something that that these unbreakable people, in your opinion, what is it that they have in common? Is it, certain habits? What is it that that ties them so that people who are feeling that way,
right, when I started getting into personal growth and development in mid 2000s, right, I started reading this book called The Power of Attitude by Mac Anderson. It was full of all these stories, and the common theme with all these stories and people was the mindset thing. I mean, when you look at some of the people who have been broken in the past, Walt Disney, Abe Lincoln, Thomas Edison, Nelson Mandela, Henry Ford, the Wright brothers, it went on and on. I'm like, what? This common thread of sometimes being broken becomes your biggest blessing. Now, when you're in the middle of it, like even right now, I'm like, okay, dear God, how is my back my biggest blessing?
Right.
But there's faith that I can't see that will bless me, because I can't tell you how many people, a lot, who are in some form of pain right now have reached out and said, Todd, thank you for sharing that, because I'm in pain as well in some way. Oprah Winfrey, that's a little bit of a personal story to me, because Oprah Winfrey, for those of you who have really followed the Impact Show closely, if you have not yet listened to episodes 1 and 2, if you're a newbie and you're just joining the show recently, go back to the very beginning, episodes 1 and 2 of this Impact Show. List episodes 1 and 2. Talk about a guy named Michael King. Michael King, King World Productions produced Oprah Winfrey. Michael King is who brought me from New Jersey out to California when he was actually just getting started with Oprah. Because there was a time in the mid 1990s where no one wanted to have Oprah on the TV. No one wanted Oprah, right? So Michael and Roger King had to go sell Oprah Winfrey door to door in New York City to get her on a show. And Oprah became Oprah through King World Productions. Even when she created Harpo Productions, I was training Michael and Roger King out here in Malibu, California. And even though she had Harpo Productions, she kept King World, Michael and Roger King, King World Productions on as the distributor, because she knew that those two guys pushed her door to door when no one else wanted her. Oprah Winfrey was broken at many times of her life as well. I look at her as someone who, again, I have a personal story with her because of Michael King. But to me, those common threads, I look at these people, they've all been through setback. They've all been through adversity, and they've all overcome. They've all had this way. So, and those are all non-athletes, by the way. I can come up with 50 athletes, obviously, as well.
Well, and something else about them is, although the people you just talked about, we know their names, they're famous, if you will, at this point, but that's not where they started out. They didn't start out there. They started out as just someone who had a goal, a dream, and they had to fight being broken. They had to fight people, not wanting to help them get to where they wanted to go.
Yep.
So I think those are great examples because we can all look at them, but we're all that way.
Yep. To answer your question, there's qualities. There's qualities that people have. And let me ask you all who are listening in right now, which qualities do you have? When you think about qualities, I'll go through a few of them. you think about the qualities, these are the people, when you look at the qualities, I believe they also energize you. I talk about God-sized dreams. What's your God-sized dream? I believe these qualities help you with your energy, with your faith on that. Number one is courage and confidence. Courage and confidence. These are the quality. You have courage. Winston Churchill talks about success is not final, failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. That's a Churchill quote. You think about Winston Churchill. Success is not final. Hey, if you're finding success today, fantastic. Congratulations. Keep it up. Enjoy it. It ain't final. It's not your final destination. Failure is not fatal. If you're facing tough times today, keep going. Keep moving. It's not the end of the world. You got to have the courage to continue. It's a great quote from Winston Churchill. That's number one, courage and confidence.
That's the epitome of the spirit of.
Yep.
It's you being dedicated to what it is you're trying to get done, whether your back is broken or Drew Brees, your shoulder,
yep.
and that injury, he wasn't done.
No.
He knew, and he had naysayers, surrounding him. He gets released by the Chargers, and the next thing you know, he wins the Super Bowl with the Saints. He had his goals that's what you have to focus on. And like you said, it comes back to what it is that you want, your habits, that one thing I think that gets you up and gets you going every day.
100 point, which brings me to my second point. That's the driving desire and force to do something special. So what is that? What is that something special you're going to do? So when you're in a hole and you're being broken, or you're broken of a relationship, financially, professionally, personally, and you're broken, you got to have a desire, a driving desire that's going to get you out. What the heck's going to get you out? You got to find that. Napoleon Hill. I love Napoleon Hill. 2006, I read the book Think and Grow Rich. Napoleon Hill wrote that book. He said the starting point of all achievement is desire. So my question to you is, what do you desire? How do you get out of a hole? What do you desire to do to get out of the hole? That's where once you lose all desire, then you're in trouble. You got to find that desire to get you out, which another quality is passion. I talk about this all the time. Passion and purpose. Got to have passion and purpose. You got to love your goals. You got to love your dreams. The reason why I call it GSD, God-sized dreams, is because they got to be big. They got to be scary. They got to be ones that are going to move the juice, get the juju going. You got to love your goals and dreams. That's passion, right? What is that? So when you think about qualities that make people unbreakable, courage and confidence, a driving desire and force to do something special, passion, grit, determination. And I would say also, someone I know wants to get your mind right? Get your mind right. Get your mind right. Motivation. How do you get motivated when you're not motivated? If you're broken right now and you know you need to work out, you know you need to eat right, but you don't feel like it because you're down, you're broken. Suck it up, get up and move. Go for a walk around the block. Go for a little bear crawl in the backyard like I had to do a lot in 2021. Find a way to get done what needs to get done. Because when you do what needs to get done, then all of a sudden, you get this little trigger. Beep, beep. All of a sudden, this trigger goes off and you start to feel good. Because if you base your actions on your feelings all the time, you're never going to get started and you're not going to move. So when I say get your mind right, find the motivation, you got to move. Dr. Dyer, Wayne Dyer. I love Wayne Dyer. I'm bringing all these people out, these famous people. They've all been broken. Wayne Dyer was broken. And he talked about the shift in life. There's energy shifts in life. And last I checked, most people are going through an energy shift these days. Is that you? Yeah. Make sure you listen to the webinar. That's what I talked about, finding fulfillment. You gotta make sure you're shifting towards your ultimate purpose in life. And he talks about, are you going to be miserable or are you going to motivate yourself? I don't know. You choose. Miserable or motivate? You choose. Your choice. What do you want to do? Get up as you're listening to this right now. Get your tail up. I know you might be broken. Maybe you're not. Good. Listen to it when you are and get up and move your bodies.
Yeah. And wouldn't you say that the first step in all of that is you got to look at yourself in the mirror and you have to be honest with you. You have to say, okay, what is it? What is it that I'm not doing?
Yes. But here's what I say. Reels talk. 2021, in the last 6 months, I've looked at myself in the mirror sometimes and said, now I'm broken. And just because you say that or acknowledge that, you could be like, I'm broken right now.
But what am I going to do about it?
Bam. Exactly. Right. What am I going to do? That's the key. Oh, my back hurts. Should I just sit around the couch and eat bonbons? No, that ain't going to happen. Right? So what are we going to do? Okay, I'm going to have a greens drink in the morning. I'm going to go out and move. I'm going to listen to a podcast. I got to read some good inspirational material. I'm going to surround myself with some people. That might mean a phone call to one of my mentors, whatever that is, there's nothing better than the gut check in the mirror and looking at and making sure you see in the mirror. And if you don't like what you see, then choose to change what you see. And sometimes, okay, here we go. Sometimes it's going to be hard. Guess what? That might mean you need to do a surgery. That might mean you gotta find a new relationship. That might mean you gotta make some changes at work. You don't maybe like some of the people you're working with. Then change. You choose. It's up to you. You could choose your job. You could change your job. You could fire people, or you could choose to change your job. Whatever it is, if you're not, whatever, you choose it.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you got to do that.
And but that's what comes down to you being unbreakable, is you taking control of that, of the situation, and of, how you react to it and what you do with it. Big goal, small goal, everyday life goal, one step at a time. I think that's something else that people that we know or that we see as being unbreakable. It's about every step, the big ones and the small ones.
Here's one that's kind of one that a lot of people carry around this weight: resentment. Resentment. So they walk out with resentment towards someone, but it's a burden they carry that actually breaks their spirit. Mm-hmm. So if they're resenting someone or something, they walk around and complain about it all the time. And the resentment itself is what's breaking people. So I share that because there's a lot of people I've talked to, and for whatever reason, I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of people in the last several months. And it's not just physically being broken or, you're feeling empty, lost, you're looking for your purpose. Sometimes it's a burden that you carry that has to do with something that happened a year ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago, and you're resenting someone or something versus, again, back to the Wayne Dyer thing, who had to forgive his father for some of the things that happened to him as a child. And as a matter of fact, it's a theme that comes up here on the show when you listen to Dr. Clay and it's how are you healing yourself, or how are you giving yourself up with some resentment? Like what are you doing on that? So to me, whatever the burden is, it's not even important what the burden is. It's that you're choosing to release the burden physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, relationally, financially, whatever that is.
Would you put, as soon as you said resentment, would you also put regret in there, in a sense of, I regret having ever done that, and then holding on to that in the same sense of what you're saying, what you just said? Would you put that in there? Because for me, we all make mistakes, but if you continue to hold on to them and not make the change, not look at yourself in the mirror and be honest, and then put a plan together to move forward with it. I mean, would you kind of put that in the same?
Yeah, it certainly is something that robs people of the energy that we're often talking about. So if you're feeling exhausted and you're not feeling motivated or inspired, regret could be something that, if you're living life too much in the rearview mirror looking back, you got a problem. And at whatever level you say you got a problem, you can deal with that problem as well. Now that might take professional counseling. You might need to talk to a professional to get counseling on not living in regret, but how do you look forward to what is coming, whatever that may be, whatever that blessing is. And that's why when we talked about today, when I shared some of those things about your dream, you got to have the courage and confidence to dream. You have a driving desire and force. The driving desire and force, the life force, as I call it, that has to be bigger than the regret. So whatever that regret was, what's pulling you toward the sun? What's pulling you up toward where you want to go? If it's the anchor, I often refer to it in my coaching programs. If it's an anchor, resentment, anger, regret, hate, these are emotions that can hold you down and throttle and bottle you up on that. And those are the last things you want to be living with, because the burden is heavy. The burden is heavy when you're living in that in all ways, and it manifests physically. oh, my body hurts, or my energy's off, or I feel tight. Well, those are often our emotions. I studied Dr. John Sarno in the late 90s when I had my initial back injury, and it was all about the psychosomatic manifestation of emotion and how it holds in your body. When I was that's one of the reasons why I became a body worker and started doing work in fascia and feeling and hearing how fascia holds on to physical, mental, emotional, spiritual stress is held in fascia, and tissue becomes hardened. It's this constant. These are the qualities that when I say make people unbreakable, we all have certain regrets. We all have regrets. We all have resentments. It's not living in that. It's not staying in that. It's looking forward to where we're going on this. It's one of the reasons why I'm commending all of you again when I said, how are you doing? Because when I said, how are you doing? I want to know, how are you doing? And if you're not doing well, that's okay. But the first step is acknowledging it. Acknowledging this is where I'm being bottled up and anchored down. Okay, it's time to release that. Maybe you do have to go to a coach or a counselor. Maybe you do have to enroll in a program. Maybe you need to find a bigger dream that's going to pull you out of the doldrums that you may live all day. Maybe you feel a lot of doubt in yourself, and your doubt is holding you back because I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I have the education to do that. I'm not sure I have the certifications to do that. I don't know if I have the drive to do that. I don't know. I'm pretty comfy with this life. I don't know if I'm going to take those steps. Maybe I'm too old to do that, or maybe I'm too young to do that. All of this head trash that often holds us back. That's why I'm talking about unbreakable in these next few weeks, because I want to know, it's okay to feel that. Let's not live there. Let's not stay there. When you're feeling broken, like we all will feel, like we all have felt in some way the last couple of years, I refuse to stay down.
Yeah, I know one of the things that what you're saying made me think of is that when you have your own stinking thinking, as you like to say, is there's been times where I've had to catch myself because I'm being my own energy vampire. Things that I'm doing, and maybe they're bad habits. Maybe it is the stinking thinking, or, people around you can be energy vampires, but at the same time, depending on what you are doing and how you're taking care of yourself, I've had to say, you know what, Maria, you're being your own energy vampire. Knock it off.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Do you ever have a losing day? A losing day. End of the day, you're like, that just wasn't a good day. Be honest.
Yeah.
Okay,
yes,
good. Okay.
Absolutely. But what I try to do, because it's something that I've had to learn about myself, is I go, yeah, okay, this sucked. I didn't get this done, or I was distracted by this or whatever. But then I finish that thought or that sentence with, this is how to not do it again and not do it tomorrow. Because I don't want to take today into tomorrow. Because tomorrow's a new day. So for me, that's how that's what I've had to do. I've had to almost do my own little mind game, to just say, yeah, today was not my best day. Let's not make tomorrow a duplicate.
Yep. Yes, folks, I do. To answer the question, yes. Okay, Todd, do you have? Yes.
You can read my mind.
Yes, I do. Okay, of course. The hardest thing we all do is play the mental gymnastics between our ears. The mental gymnastics every single day. Every day. And every day there's losses. In some way, big or small, there's losses. But the main thing in making sure you don't have multiple losing days is to find little micro wins every day. And the one thing I will do when I have a losing day, like I just didn't feel good that day, there may have been a couple things, is in my journal. Yeah, in the journal is write down what were a few of the wins for the day. What were a few of the losses of the day? What were the top lessons that I learned today? And what am I going to do tomorrow? And then you always end the day with gratitude, because regardless of how bad the day is, and in personal experience, maybe I didn't have a good day with my body. Maybe my body wasn't feeling good. My energy was off. Maybe I was feeling a little brain fog that day. And I didn't quite get done what I wanted to get done on the to-do list. Oh, can anyone attest? The to-do list just didn't get done the way you wanted it because a fire came up and you had to deal with someone or something. And next thing you know, it was spiraling down. Yup. Come back to gratitude. The one thing that I have learned in the last 2 years in dealing with this whole, being broken thing is come back to gratitude. I don't care how bad you have it. I don't care if your back looks like mine or looks worse, or you've got something mentally going on that you just don't feel like yourself. And when I talk about, your mindset or your mental health, there's days where I'm like, man, I got to get my mind right. So when you hear me like, get your mind right, get your mind right. Guys, I'm talking to myself too sometimes, right? This is the language I use with you. I use with myself. So I'm sharing it with you on the pod, right? So this is important, is just don't have multiple losing days and fight like mad. Fight like fill in the blank to make sure that you don't have these days over and over. Okay, I heard you. You said, and what if I do, Todd? Then you make sure that you don't have losing weeks. You can't afford losing weeks. Losing weeks turn into losing months. Losing months turn into losing quarters. Losing quarters turn into losing years. You don't want to lose weeks, months, quarters, or years. That's how you lose your life. And I don't want you losing your life. So win more days.
So what would you, because we kind of covered like a lot of things. I think it's like going to get people crazy thinking about themselves and how to move forward. I know even me. So I'm kind of asking this question for me personally, but even for people listening. If there was one thing that you were to tell somebody who was feeling like they're broken, if there's one thing that you could tell them to do today to change that or to get their mind right and have them realize and understand that they too are unbreakable. It's a matter of finding that thing inside them. What is the one thing that you would tell them to do today to start down that process?
Well, if there was only one thing, and there's not only one thing, but for me, your faith, your spirit can't be broken. Don't let your spirit be broken. And how do you not let your spirit be broken? Is you got to spend more time in your faith, regardless of what your faith is. Because what happens is when you're broken, a lot of times you start shutting everything down and out. And the one thing that I have learned throughout my life, going back to when my dad died, when my back broke, when I was 25 years old, 25 years ago, all the way through, certain setbacks throughout my own life, is faith, man. Faith. I'm preaching it more than ever before, is we got to make sure we double down on faith. And if you don't have faith, you got to seek it. You got to seek it. You got to maybe renew your faith. Maybe you got to go back to church or go back to the temple, go back to your pastor or your rabbi or whatever you're believing. You got to have faith. For me, I got to make sure I'm surrounding myself with people and getting back and making sure we're having Bible study or we're spending time in the Word on it. So if there's one thing, all of these tips, tools, and tactics that I'm giving you, for me, it wouldn't matter if my faith was broken, because as soon as my faith is broken, I'm relying on my own flesh, and the flesh is weak.
And wouldn't you say that even of all the people that we've talked about, that one thing that they have in common is faith in themselves, on top of they have a foundation of faith?
Well, you all have faith in yourself until you don't have faith in yourself.
Kind of like, how do you get your mind right when your mind's not right?
Yeah, because here's the deal. Everyone's got to have a time when you feel broken and you're down. Mm-hmm. So what do you do when you're broken and you're down? What do you do when you're all alone and you're curled up in a ball and your fiance or soon-to-be fiance just died, or your kid is going through hell or is hooked on drugs, or has an addiction that you're like, I don't know how I'm going to break, or you have an addiction and you don't know how to break, or you have a relationship that's abusive and you don't know how you're going to get out of it, or you have a business that's failing and you feel like you got a noose around your neck and you're like, I need help, and you put it on yourself. Sometimes you feel broken. So to me, the one thing that I will continue to come back to, and when you asked me in the beginning about, well, when were some of the toughest times? Right now. But interesting enough, I feel like my faith, as long as I've got my faith, man, come on, world. We got a crusade we're on. Let's go. Mm-hmm. We're going to help inspire people who may be broken. Maybe you're not. Good. You will be, maybe, quote, tomorrow. I don't know if tomorrow's next year, in 5 years, but all of us in this world will beat you down and beat us down. But to me, when you've got your faith, not in yourself, you got to believe in yourself. I get it. You got to believe in yourself. You got to remember who you are. But What about when you're down at your lowest and you're on your knees? You are broken to your knees. Then who shows up in your life? That's when you find out who's in your corner. Not when things are going, rosy and you're doing well with business, or, you got hundreds of people packed in the room, or you're getting accolades or awards. No. That's cool. It's easy to love a winner. Who's showing up when you're losing? Who's giving you words of encouragement and support when you're losing, or when you're silent and you feel like you're losing? Because even though you're winning on the outside because the world is judging you, who's showing up and saying, hey, how are you doing? How are you doing? And looking in your eye, say, how are you doing? When you listen to this and my voice is in your ears right now, how are you doing? I want to know how your spirit is, how your energy is. And if you're broken today, continue to move. Continue to be in the fight, this crusade that every day we show up as our best selves, even when you're not your best self. You show up and you're dedicated to the habits. Yeah, what are the habits? Just read the books. I've got them down. We talk about these all the time. Today isn't about giving you all the specific tools. It's about reminding you of who you are and that you keep going. And a matter of fact, in this theme about unbreakable, I'm going to be sharing here over the next few weeks some people who I believe have exemplified the spirit of being unbreakable. Because all of us have times of our life when you may feel broken. Maybe it's now, maybe it's not. Maybe you've already had that. All of us in some way, if you've been around the block for a little while, have had things in our life happen. Reminder. If things are good right now, awesome. There's always things in your life that are good. There's always things that are going well. Find them. Dwell in them. Don't be down in the dumps all the time and bringing people down with you. We've got to stay in that indomitable spirit and faith that, man, the best is yet to come.
Preach it. That's why you're unbreakable, though. And that's why people are here listening to you. It's, you epitomize that as well.
Well, let me end with this today, is this. I don't know why. And I don't want to bring on adversity, but sometimes I feel like I do my best work when there's adversity, when I'm broken. I don't want to be broken any more than I already am. But for whatever reason, can anyone else attest that sometimes you feel like you do your best work when you're actually broken? Like you got to go down to a place that you haven't been to in a long time. I don't want anything bad to happen to me or anyone I love. I don't. But sometimes I feel God's calling me the deepest when there's something going on in the world that he's calling me to. This whole crusade I've been sharing about. Like there's things that sometimes I don't want to do personally, but I'm being called to do. That's called obedience. That I'm like, you know what? I'm going to show up live sometimes. Mm-hmm. We're talking about doing this new show, showing up live. There's times I don't feel like adding something to the plate. But if I'm being called, am I being obedient? Sometimes I'm being called to do topics on this podcast because some of you are texting me or sharing with me on the DM of, hey, can you please address this topic? I'm broken here. I'm empty here. I'm lost here. So I did again the webinar, Finding Fulfillment Now. Isn't that what we're all seeking? We're all seeking more fulfillment, more joy, more peace, more happiness. And the last couple of years, as broken as you have been or are, we're all seeking that ultimate happiness and joy with our loved ones, our family, and our purpose. It's ultimately, it's that purpose. And going back to that Tony Robbins whole quote, and I love Tony, about, the ultimate failure is in seeking success and not fulfillment. Seeking success, not fulfillment. We should seek fulfillment and we should seek significance, not just success. How do you be significant? How do you seek fulfillment? And that's why I'm on this crusade to help people with fulfillment, with their purpose and their passion. And I recognize, not just personally, there are times right now where I may feel broken, but sometimes I feel most blessed when I'm broken.
Sure. That's what comes back down to what you were saying about, blessings and burdens. And sometimes your greatest gifts are the things that pull on you. Mm-hmm. But that's also how you prove that you're unbreakable. Wow. And I do love significance. That has become my own little mantra, because we all want to be important. We all want to make our mark on the world. We all want to have impact in our lives and the world around us. And that's where that spirit comes from. So,
well, Maria, thank you for sharing today your own story and example of the unbreakable spirit, because sometimes when you're most broken is when you got to dig down deep as you've ever dug. So thank you for sharing that. My friends, today, as we wrap up today's episode, I want you to think about something. What does significance mean to you? What does fulfillment mean to you? What are you going to do to dig yourself out of a ditch right now if you're broken of your body, of your mind, of your spirit? Maybe you're going to have to listen to this episode over and over and again, 2, 3, 4 times. Share it with someone who may be broken, maybe not even broken, but maybe you sense they need a little pick-me-up. You may not be at your lowest of lows. Hopefully not. But maybe you just need a little something's off. You're feeling a little fog. You're not feeling the same type of linearity in your mind of where you want to be. Perhaps that you want to feel more energy. Perhaps you want to feel more fulfillment. Perhaps you want to feel more faith. You want to experience more of these things. Perhaps you want to feel more health. You want to feel more vibrance and vitality and energy. These are the things that I've been talking about. But I recognize the exact opposite of that. We can't experience that if you are empty or you're feeling a little bit lost or confused right now. You're not feeling that same clarity in your purpose. Keep seeking it. Stay on the path and the journey and the process of seeking your maximum thing. Because the last thing that I want to do is show up someday to the pearly gates and the big man look at me and say, Todd, I gave you potential that you never stepped into. You were broken, but you chose to stay down. I gave you that to hopefully for you to fight through, and you chose to stay down. You had success, but you never went to that next level of significance. You had the opportunity of, you said you wanted to reach millions of people, but you never stepped in it. This is the darn recorder in my head that goes off over and over again of, am I operating as my truest and deepest, best self? God gave me like he gave you potential. So the question I ask you is, are you living at your full potential? Make the choice today, whether you're broken or you're not, to choose to be the unbreakable spirit that steps into your best self. Go out there today and create an incredible day, an extraordinary day. Train hard, whatever that means to you. Eat right. You can make that choice. And go live inspired today. God bless you. And be unbreakable.